You're very welcome back to the Daily Rundown with me, Fiona Fox. I've got Stephen Armstrong poised at the edge of a seat, ready to reply. Now, let me just recap. We were talking about the hijacker selfie, which we've established isn't a selfie.
No, it's not.
Because he didn't take it himself.
No.
But it's poor taste. Not according to AJ Hill, who thinks it's hilarious.
It's not quite what I said, is it?
That's basically what you said, though. It was implied. No, I agree. Basically, other than the fact that my idea is that comedy is tragedy plus time.
Right.
Now, Ben Innes, when...
The whole too soon.
Tragedy, too soon. I applaud his... to make light of the situation and basically to agree with the main point that, yes, this is the best possible outcome, that nobody died, that this hijacker wasn't shot, that this man made light of it. Personally, it smacks, to me, less comedian, more rugby guy.
Rugby guy, right.
Rugby lad.
Interesting, yes.
Rugby lads can be comedians.
No, they can be. No, what I mean is, I don't mean like that.
Yeah.
What I mean is, it's more. I think it's more. I don't think he did it to have a social commentary or to make or to as I say, is to raise the laughter like that. To me, it was smacked a bit of, hey lads, look at me.
It was interesting.
I see your point. Sorry, I just I see your point. I know exactly the point you're making, but it just seems to me in this situation, I don't think you're giving him too much credit, to be honest.
Well, it's not exactly giving him credit, but it's just see if Eldon. Why did this guy even allow this this rugby player Ben to have a photograph opportunity before he'd even finished negotiating his possible release? It's like now he's got the. In fact, this guy now has the opportunity to say, "I'm just a phone case salesman. I wasn't hijacking anything. I was trying to sell a phone to him. We had a photograph together."
No, do you not think the question, though? I mean, okay, fine. We can, break it down, break the guy down, whatever he whatever his reasons behind it doing. I think was taking to be honest, but. Everybody just didn't react to this, that it was a crazy thing to do, that it was an awful thing to do. We've had very mixed but not extreme reactions to it. Are we just completely desensitised to terrorism or the threat of terrorism? Or is there no situation where you can't take a selfie or a photograph?
No, I just think
is this the ultimate?
I think it's the ultimate I agree with the article. I think it's the ultimate in narcissism. I don't think that this man had any thought other than this is going to be good. He says, well, if he was going to blow up, then I had nothing to lose, which I can appreciate that. I can appreciate that point. I think the story suggests that he got one of the staff to translate that he wanted to take a picture with this man, and this man just sort of nodded. And I can't put myself in the position of this, as you say, this phone case salesman. But I just think I would be a bit sort of like, well, yeah, okay.
I kind of feel like as well, if it was on Twitter, I mean, like, if you have somebody who was on the plane, the way it was reported yesterday was bizarre, to be honest. We had like different stories trickling through. We didn't know if it was a terrorist, if he was, unwell, whatever the situation was. If you had somebody travelling at that time, or you knew that they were on that flight, like my father-in-law was in Egypt only a few weeks ago. Actually, he travelled a lot, and if I kind of knew this and then I just saw on Twitter this, I just think it's really disrespectful. Do you know what I mean? Like, for the people who didn't know that the story was resolved or the situation was resolved or whatever.
But this is the problem with any news cycle these days. Things don't get released in the way that they do. Every year you hear about families finding out that their loved ones are dead through Facebook and things like that. So this is just the age that we live in, and we do live in a narcissistic culture. I mean, hey, look at me, I'm on TV. I'm narcissistic as well. I can't deny it. Everybody has that aspect of it, and yes, Facebook and social media has increased that look at me sort of acceptability in our culture. But I think my main problem with this article isn't the fact that Ben did this. My main issue with it...
I keep saying he's Ben like he's your mate.
Well, yeah.
Do you know him?
No, I don't.
How are you sticking up for him as well?
Well, but why is the media so focused on this one thing when there's lots more interesting things in this story? The fact that the crew, the actual plane crew, apparently they acted in a highly professional manner, and they diffused the situation with this guy and made sure that he was, calm and that they weren't a threat to him, and they handled it in a very professional manner. They should be lauded. They shouldn't be focused on this idiot. I mean, oh, well, is this narcissistic? Well, you're feeding his narcissism.
Yeah.
If that is the case, we're feeding his narcissism by
speaking
talking about it right now.
I think that when you go to second day news stories that are still happening, you have to go for a new angle, don't you? I mean, this guy's provided it for us. He's handed it into our hands, really, to talk about, basically.
Yeah.
But
I think we as individuals look at things, and we can take our lead from what people do or not. And in the next situation, I really hope that if there's a situation, or the next, because there will be the next situation. If the next situation is serious, somebody decides to be this braggadocious, take a chance. That could be the end of the situation.
But to be fair, there were pictures from Brussels, so there were lots of pictures as the explosions were happening. There were pictures of people with blood down their faces being posted online as well. So it's not really that different. I think the main reason why we're treating it differently is because it had a much more positive outcome, and I actually do believe that in some respects this is just a collective sigh of relief. I think that's more what it is, because there were loads of photos like that being posted. I'm near a bomb blast. Here I am near something that's just happened at the metro station or at the airport. People were doing that, but it wasn't reported as much because it affected a lot more people. A lot more damage. There was actual damage, whereas on this occasion there was no damage.
I think that is the stage that we are at when anything. We're not going to go backwards anyway. No one's going to suddenly stop doing this.
No.
I just kind of wonder, what would the next step be, though? And what would the next step be?
Well, the next step will be an attacker taking a selfie and putting a selfie on Twitter moments before.
Periscope. It's happened, hasn't it?
Periscope. There you go. There's the next one. They're going to find something else. There's going to be a new horrific way of looking at this.
Hashtag behind the scenes.
Well, exactly. There are lots of videos of horrific things that have happened that I've not watched. I choose not to watch. I choose not to watch beheading videos. I choose not to watch those things. I know they exist. I choose not to watch them. I think that it is a really... I don't want to sound like an old man, but it makes me sad that our children are watching the news and people are being blown up. They turn on their consoles and they're blowing up people. It just, everywhere we look, people are fighting and are being aggressive, and everything is about...
That's always been the case.
Think about this from another angle then. You say we're calling Mr. Inns a narcissist, but think about what you've just been saying about our hunger as a population, as a collective culture, our hunger for these violent images, for sort of, things that are happening. We're fascinated by the grim realities of what's going on in the world, or the things that we're distorting by feeding it to one another. These things don't happen every day. You've got more chance of dying by falling out of bed than you do in any kind of plane crash or a plane explosion. But, we're far more interested in hearing about the on the ground sort of gory details of things, the strange, horrific things that are happening out there. You're like, oh, let's hear more of that. But that's not everyday life. And I think that's one thing that maybe he's just saying, well, this is what we do now, rather than saying, look at me. It's like, I'm in this situation here.
Are these the new Victorian freak shows? Is this the new version of that?
Maybe.
Thanks very much for that, guys. Let's go to our next one. I won't fit all these in, I don't think. A project to tackle violence in A&E departments, thought to be the first of its kind in the UK, has been introduced in Glasgow. The Navigators scheme, funded by Police Scotland's Violence Reduction Unit, has been operating at Glasgow Royal Infirmary since December. It involves two navigators establishing a connection with people who are victims or perpetrators of violence. They later discuss the agencies and services that can help them. This could include relationship counselling or putting them in touch with organisations such as Alcoholics Anonymous or Shelter. Now, what do you think of this? Because I know we got to watch the video, we don't have that now, but it's a very interesting scheme, just been rolled out in Glasgow, and it's been, obviously the NHS are very much behind it there anyway, the doctors and that are behind it. You watched the videos, didn't you? What do you think?
I think it seems a good idea. It seems that the video showed the two gentlemen attending an A&E department and just discussing with people who are in there and getting them, they describe it as a mini intervention, and talking to them about how to get out of this cycle of chaotic lifestyles, of violence, of maybe substance abuse or any kind of things like this. And it seems they mentioned in the video that it could a complex head injury could cost up to £30,000 to kind of treat. And it seems that there was a doctor in the video who suggests that it is about intervening in these people's lives and maybe making that difference and making a difference to people's lives. And I think that is worthwhile. And I think that if it works in Glasgow, then no reason why it shouldn't be rolled out.
We obviously know that like A&E departments they're just stretched. Every weekend they're stretched to capacity. A lot of it is to do with like the alcohol issues. Some people might argue that there are problems that could be avoided if there was the facility there, to help people or to treat the problem at source. So do you think that this might work? Something like this might work? Or
well, with me, I actually was a bit downhearted when I actually saw this video. It's not even that. It's the fact that the main sort of focus on why this is a good thing is, we'll save £30,000, or we'll do this or do that, or we'll funnel these people away from A&E and we'll funnel them towards Shelter or Alcoholics Anonymous or a third-party company that's not part of our National Health Service. Now, I'm not saying it should be necessarily the remit of the National Health Trust and organisation to deal with domestic violence, but at the same time, some of the motives behind this just seem very symptomatic of basically moving things outside of the realm of the NHS and funneling things towards private companies and publicly limited companies. And I just feel that, yes, it has its benefits. Domestic violence is a horrific thing that does need to be tackled. And for me, that is something that we should sort of, definitely tackle, look into, and as a collective society, focus on finding ways to deal with it. But at the same time, I feel that with all the cost-saving exercises that are happening within the NHS. I mean, I was doing a charity gig on Saturday, which was to protect the closure of the A&E department in Huddersfield. So, A&E was saying, we need to sort of like help our A&E departments, but at the same time, in other trusts in other parts of the country, we're closing down our A&E departments when they're needed. They don't go away. You can't tell people, you've got a head injury, go 50 miles up the road.
No, of course not. But I guess what might have, doctors and nurses do see a lot of the same patients weekend after weekend. And it's not just obviously domestic violence is a big issue, but it might actually be, a young guy who just gets into fights every weekend because he's going out, he's drinking too much, he's coming in, he doesn't really know what happened other than, he took a kicking or he beat someone else up. So you can understand, obviously, it's frustrating, I guess, for medical staff. And it means that they can't treat possibly people who are more in need or arguably more deserving because they've ended up there, not by their own means or by their own hand.
I think the opportunity for these navigators is to address maybe issues that the doctors can't address or that don't have the time to address, that they can't address these underlying symptoms, and they're just putting these patches on the symptoms and then sending them back out. I agree with AJ that it should be more about giving that services. I know we're here in Manchester now, but across the country, the services have been pulled, the support services, whether it be mental health services, whether it be services for people who have these chaotic lifestyles.
I was just going to say, this is one thing that's quite important, that sometimes with domestic health issues, and even a young man who's going out and getting into fights, and these are people that have potentially got mental health issues, and yet we're having major problems in this country with our mental health. I'm currently waiting on a sort of speech therapy, psychological therapy, and I've been waiting months for that. So I was meant to see a counsellor, and I'm still waiting now. So that's that's been about 3 months that I've been waiting for, and there's no news of when I'm going to get that. And I'm doing okay, but I've got a support network around me, and that's good. But there are people out there without these things. There are people out there in relationships where they have mental health issues and they might be taken out on their partner. And these people are people that need help. And it's good to have somebody who's stationed
maybe in those situations,
in an A&E. But if they've not got,
they can try and bridge the gap with this navigation scheme. I'll have to leave it there because we're just going over. We're going for our second break. We'll be back in just a moment with lots more news, and our special guest is coming up as well. Don't go away.